You just downloaded the show that was nominated Best Entertainment Podcast of 2013, only to be beaten by The Walking Dead.
I ain't going nowhere, Survivor's my game, Spencer is my name. I ain't going nowhere, Spencer is my name.
Hey everybody, this is Survivor Talk with D&D. I am Dwayne.
And I am David.
And we're just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. Tonight is our recap and discussion of episode 11. There's some Havoc to Wreak. And we have a special guest. Allow us to introduce you, the writer, the only writer. Not really. But the writer for People Magazine, Steve Helling. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, yeah, I am the writer that matters. I mean, Stephen
Yes.
Spyshack, no. No.
Well, you're his boss. So,
Exactly, so there you go.
or whatever. Well, it's good to have you on the show. We were talking about having we're talking about having a roundtable after the finale, not like the day of, but a couple days after, once Steve gets back to town or whatever, with him and Andy and maybe a few others. And Steve was like, hey, I'm stuck in a hotel room bored tonight. It's either this or pay-per-view. You want to have me on tonight? And we said, yeah. So we saved his marriage and had him on our podcast.
Add that to the list.
That's right.
Marriage savers. Yeah.
So, Steve, we are glad to have you on.
I'm thrilled to be here.
You can. Steve has done something for me that no other person has ever done.
Wow.
David, do you know what that is, David?
He has done for you what no other person has done.
That's right.
He's given you $1 million?
No.
Okay. Then no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. He has taken, the 7 degrees of separation that we all talk about,
Of Kevin Bacon, yeah.
Yeah. He has now reduced all my 7 degrees down to 2 because the guy knows everybody.
It's people like me, bro. That's what we do. So.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's on TV all the time. He plays golf with Tim Tebow. He does all kinds of stuff. And he knows Kevin Bacon. He's met Kevin Bacon.
I played pool with Kevin Bacon. He can't play.
Yeah, there you go.
All
So,
right.
David, you and I now can say, hey, we have 2 degrees of separation between us and Kevin Bacon.
There you go.
How about
Yeah,
that?
so- All right, David, why don't you tell them about Sunday night?
Sunday night is our usual feedback show.
That's right.
Let's see. We need all your feedback by 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's my time, not Dwayne's time. You can leave email at feedback@survivortalkwithdnd.com, or you can go to our website, really, survivortalkwithdnd.com/feedback. Find every possible avenue available to leave feedback, which we love your audios. Your quizzes and tests are okay, and we like your emails. So
I like the quizzes and tests when they're...
I bet you do.
You don't want to do the quiz and test with me because then you will find out why I'm on the show and why I'm not on the show. It ain't for my Survivor knowledge. So, anyway.
Yeah.
So we would like to ask, would you consider supporting our show? You already share our show with others. Would you consider supporting the show? You can do it through PayPal for like one-time and monthly amounts, or easiest ways to just start your Amazon shopping using our link. That's the easiest way. And we have a new way. It's called Patreon. You can like pledge a tip for like per episode, like 50 cents or $1,000 per episode, and that'd be great. You can survivortalkwithdnd.com/support is the way to support Survivor Talk with D&D. And David's got one more thing to say.
For all you YouTube watchers, if you want to hang around after we end the audio version of this podcast, we'll have a little special after podcast time together, and tonight will be led by our Master of Ceremonies, Dwayne.
That's
so
right.
I'm very interested to hear what he's got.
Yeah, Steve, I would like to invite you to hang around for that. Y'all can compete.
I don't know what
against
this after dark stuff is.
No, it's not Skin After Dark or whatever. It's the after show.
Okay.
It's but I came up with something really funny to do today, and I thought it would be fun, and y'all can kind of compete. It'll be great. So
Okay.
those of you who are watching, if you're listening on audio, just go find our YouTube link on our website, and you can watch the video.
It has to be non-survivor, right? Because if it's Survivor, I have no chance.
It's not Survivor related.
Okay, good.
No.
And not celebrities, because then I still have no chance.
Yeah. It's about the printed world of magazines.
Oh, good Lord, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, you don't know. All right. Episode 11, Havoc to Wreak. You're not Spencer. Steve, one thing we do is we do initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm going to assume that you have listened to us.
I have listened to you, yes.
Oh, have you? Oh, okay, good. We do initial thoughts. Here's one of mine. Kass and Tony are secretly married. Because they certainly act like it. I mean, they're acting like it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't lie to Tony. And you know what? The edit really played that out tonight. He really does have a keen eye for people lying to him.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
Yeah.
And last thing I said was apparently Trish has no muscles left on her body. She's just a skeleton with skin, and she can barely move.
Yeah, according to probst, he pointed that out quite clear. Running with no muscle. Barely any, just skin hanging on bone, and she gets it back.
Which is impossible. All right, David, do you have any initial thoughts?
Well, I thought we saw Battle of the Last Word 1. In the next segment, we saw Battle of the Last Word 2. Because if you watch those two, it doesn't end because one of them has to get the last word, and it's got to be the other one. No, it's got to be the other one. Then it comes back to the other one. And it's funny, but my other initial thought was the Kass got a wake-up call. Because the first part of this episode, to me, was all emotion. And the latter part of the episode, she got back to playing Survivor.
Yeah.
So I thought this was it wasn't surprising, the episode wasn't, but I thought it was well edited because it told a really good story, and I love the interaction we got that was kind of non-Survivor related. We don't really get a lot of that, and I really, really enjoyed seeing that.
Yeah. How about you, Steve?
Well, the first thing that kind of crossed my mind is that Tony becomes more and more likable when he's getting yelled at for something he didn't do. I was Team Tony on this one, and you know, I have busted on Tony before, I just have, but you know, he was being accused of something that he didn't really do, and we've all been there in life, so I kind of like Tony like that.
Yeah.
It was nice to see that happen. Another thing is that I was not nearly as surprised as I thought I'd be about the outcome of the episode. I kind of knew this was going to happen. The story arc was coming to an end, you know, and I am not at all disappointed with the way it turned out. And I thought I would have been. So that crossed my mind. The third thing I've got to say is that Jeff Probst, you know, that's why I'll never go on Survivor, because he will always point out what you're doing wrong and how bad you look.
Yes.
I've always said I would be the one on the cast photo with the shirt on anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like last year, Dawn had dressed down to her ankles. You know, my self-esteem couldn't be Survivor.
Oh, man. I think I totally agree with you. Dwayne's bouncing over to the tournament area.
Oh, no, he's just standing there. Something's bouncing. But anyway, it's funny because Kass has already tweeted an apology to Tony. She's already apologized on Twitter for saying that he said that when obviously he didn't. She said 1,000 apologies. I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to talk at the end, we still might, about edit, but I agree that this episode kind of finished eventually as we knew she was not going to go much further, because I don't like to talk about winner's edit because I don't want to feel like we're spoiling anything if we pick out something that could be true. But I never got the sense that Tosh was getting an edit that was going to take her to the end, because there was almost like we got more strategy from Tosh tonight, and it wasn't even her strategy, than I felt like we did all season. All we got from her was the challenges.
Yeah, and it wasn't very good strategy. She did a very poor job of acting.
And she also planted a thought in Kass's head that might have changed her mind. So she her one strategy kind of got her out of the game. So.
Yes. Yep. Well, okay, so is it just me, or whenever you were watching Kass and Tony, I kind of felt like Kass, well, I didn't feel like it, I knew it. Kass was in control and Tony was not for a little while there. Yes?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think Kass. It's the cop and lawyer thing. You know, this it's great to watch. I would love to see them up, in court somewhere. I think that she knew how to frame things, how to ask questions. She just knew how to push his buttons.
Yes.
And he fell for it. Granted, we all know Kasses in our lives. Let's face it. And I would have reacted the exact same way, I think.
Oh, I know. It's so hard to deal with people like that. And in fact, it was hard to watch. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, you're being so condescending. You are so pushing his buttons.
It's funny because I had the same thought about Kass being the prosecuting attorney or the defense attorney and Tony being the police officer on the stand, having to testify. And he says, I never said that. She says, I have proof that you said it because she heard it. Even though Tosh is the proof, she said she heard it because Kass said she heard it.
Yeah.
Kass never heard it because it never got said.
Exactly.
But Tosh is being the great witness, agreeing with Kass. Whatever you say, Kass, I'm sure he said it. Absolutely. Yeah. You should go after him. You should go get him. And it's hard for Tony because Tony, you can't prove something didn't happen if it didn't happen. It's kind of hard to prove I didn't say something if nobody else heard it. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. I can't prove I didn't steal the car if there's no car. How am I supposed to prove that if there's no car in the first place?
That's right.
So he was just stuck, and I felt, like Steve said, I felt bad for him because he was in the truth. And Spencer goes, he was telling the truth for a change. He didn't say anything.
But I ain't helping him.
I know.
Good.
You know what? Good for Spencer for not stepping in. Just let it happen and be like, I could stop this from happening, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Spencer went way up in my estimation for that.
Yeah.
This was a good for Survivor, and it's usually something that happens often at this point in the season, where the people that are down, there's always that glimmer, and this was one of those episodes where the glimmer was really big, and the two people, Spencer and Tosh, were just poking, egging on, throwing more straw on the fire, and just sitting back and letting it burn, and hopefully it burns the right way.
Yeah.
I think it's the best thing for Spencer too that it all shook out the way it did. We'll see how it turns out, but I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled on Spencer's behalf.
Yeah.
So is my daughter, by the way, yes.
Yeah. I'm not because I lost my pick to win it all.
Oh, join
I have
the
to
club.
pick somebody to win now.
Well, I have a very good choice for you, but I'm not going to give it to you.
Whatever. So what do y'all think about night 30? Coming back from the tribal council, Kass is upset, and of course Trish. This is great. Tony's like, Trish, do you understand? You've blindsided me now, Tony, for the 4th time. Sure, I understand.
But my favorite part actually was the next thing where Tony's like, okay, so then why did I do it? That's exactly what I do to my children sometimes. I'm like, okay, why did Daddy say that?
Yes.
It was really, I thought that well. Trish handles all of this well. She is the Tony whisperer.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a good term.
How about you, David? Anything about night 30?
I like that. I mean, to me, this is where Kass started to wake up. In fact, it started to worry me for Kass because it's like we suddenly started getting Kass again. We haven't really heard much from Kass for the last couple of weeks, and suddenly we're getting. It's almost like the Brenda edit, from Caramoan, where we didn't see her for a while, and all of a sudden she's starting to get confessionals, and she's starting to make waves. And she says, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. Or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And, well, you got fooled twice. Yeah. So, and it's almost like she was with the merge. She's obviously not in power. And she hasn't been in power in this group. She's had a little bit of a swing vote capability, but it's like she realizes this guy really has power. And she even said, I think it was here, maybe it was later, but she said that he's building a resume. He sent out, he blindsided LJ and he blindsided Jefra all on his own, pretty much.
Right.
And he surprised his whole people. And like I said, Trish is ready to bring the group back together. Kass is not. She's thinking there might be some other options. But to me, this is Kass and her feelings. This is where she's starting to get emotional about it. And I loved, and even Tony goes back and apologizes for Kass's misunderstanding. I'm sorry that you misunderstood what I said because you did not hear what I said.
Wait, you're talking about later in the show.
No, he said it here.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said it. They did a little Battle of the Last Word, Part 1.
Oh,
at the end of this, he said he apologized to her. He wanted to, in the dark. This was still at night.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to apologize, because you misunderstood what I said. So, but no matter what, I want to apologize. And I think this is where the good guy Tony started coming out and saying, "Look, let's get past it. We have to stick together. There's no time for us to fight. These two are loving this. We got to at least stick together for 1 or 2 more votes." So I got my idols, and I'm telling you, it's going to my blog. My favorite picture of the night was the end of that scene where everybody was laying down except for Tony.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was standing there in the dark looking at everybody. It's like he was standing watch. But he wasn't watching to protect them. He was watching them
Yeah.
to see who was talking and who was sleeping next to who.
Yeah. Kass just does not like the fact that she's been blindsided twice. It's too much lack of control for her. I mean, granted, she's not the kind of player that has to be in control. She is good at kind of sitting back and knowing that she doesn't have to take control. But this is a situation where she's like, look, this is twice in a row. He's the Mafia King. This cannot happen anymore. We've got to do something about this. And so she gets condescending and starts to do this stuff. Do you think this has been her personality the whole game, and they just show it to us whenever they want to show it to us? Or do you think tonight brought it out?
I think this has been what she's been like. I think she's done this again and again. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Kass can't win the game because of that big flip that she did back at the merge. And I don't think that's the case. I think that Kass has had a long practice.
Oh, I bet that was good, too.
Google may still be recording it.
Okay.
Because this happened the other night, and whenever I went back and listened to it, Steve, are you there, buddy?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't you start back over on that little section? Ain't no telling what it's going to sound like on the audio podcast.
You know, people like to say that Kass is not going to win the game because she made that flip back at the merge, and that's not the case.
Right.
If Kass doesn't win the game, it's because she has annoyed people now for 39 days, and, you know, people are just not going to reward that with their vote. I don't think that she's going to always think she might have lost because of strategy if she makes it to the end, and I think she's going to lose because of personality. And it's very hard to explain that to somebody, and it's very hard to see that if you're on the losing end. But people just don't warm up to Kass because she's not a warm and fuzzy type of person.
No. See, this is to me a very integral part of Survivor, especially at this stage. They're almost 33 days in at this point, and it's funny because we had a situation tonight. We had a soccer game tonight, and one of my young players, she has a little bit of a temper, but she also likes antagonizing people. And she and this girl got into it, and I want to scream, walk away. She pushed last, walk away, but she couldn't. She had to say something, and they both got carded for it. And to me, I give Tony credit because he kept getting the last word or wanting to get the last word, but he wasn't arguing back. He was defending back. I mean, he got a little testy at times because he was right, and she was accusing him of something he did not do. And he even went so far as to apologize.
What are you talking about? She accused him of something he didn't do.
Of him calling her the name and stuff, you know, in the conversation.
Yeah, but that's like the next day. We're talking about. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were talking about the next day. I thought we were still at night.
He's talking about Kass not getting along with people, and this is something to me. You got to tolerate people. You need to be able to either walk away or just listen. And I think Trish has done this to some degree. I think next week she obviously doesn't, but she's been able to do this. And I thought Tony did this throughout this episode, where he didn't take things personally. He understood and he tried to resolve things instead of just dealing with things where you get into a fight about it.
You don't think he took things personally? I think he took it very personally.
But he doesn't play the game personally. He doesn't take things to the point that I have to get rid of her because I don't like her. That's not what he says. Every move is I have to get rid of her because either I can't beat her or she's going to mess up my game. Yeah. Whereas Kass went at it personally, you know, in a few minutes, since we're not officially there yet. You know, eventually she goes at it. And this is what Steve was talking about, I think, and that her attitude and that her personality is that she picks and annoys people, and we just haven't seen this a lot. I kind of agree. I don't think it was the flip. I think the flip was a great move, but I agree. I don't think that's the reason people are saying she can't win.
Right. So you're right. Sorry, David. The next morning is basically almost the night. So they're all talking, and apparently he has come clean and said that he is a policeman.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And they're all talking, and she does mishear him.
Right, because he says, I wonder if she's sick because she's still in bed. She usually doesn't stay in bed this long.
Right.
You know, she'd be up by now.
I want to say something about what Spencer said that I liked in a confessional, and I think Spencer's got it pegged. He said Tony is lying to everyone, and he's really good at it. Mm-hmm. And then later on, he says you can't lie to Tony because he knows when you're lying. So Spencer really recognizes that Tony is a player to be reckoned with.
Mhm. One thing I find interesting about Tony is that he is actually less believable when he's telling the truth than he is when he's lying.
Yes,
I've never
exactly.
seen anybody like that before, but that's Tony.
Yeah, this whole scene was like, Tony, just leave it alone, because the people who are around you know the truth,
Right.
and so just leave it alone. But it's so hard. It's like a burr stuck in your saddle, you know. It just keeps bugging you.
I wonder what Spencer would have said if Tony had turned to him and said, Spencer, did I say that? Did I call her the B name? Did I say this about her, or is she misunderstanding what I said? And Spencer would have probably turned around and walked into the woods. I got to go to the restroom. I'll be back.
Yeah. Of course, when you're not Tony and you're not Kass, and it's this late in the game, this is just golden. You just sit back and watch.
Right.
You know, because you're not the one that's in the middle of it. So
it also seems strategic that Kass was calling him out in front of everybody. You know, she was making sure that everybody heard that she thought, even, and she believed this. I obviously think she obviously believed this, but she was doing it in the shelter. She didn't pull Tony aside. She didn't pull Spencer aside to confirm it. She just called Tony out in front of everybody.
Right.
And said that, you know, you called me this, and you and Woo and Spencer. Woo's like, what? I didn't say anything. She's like, no, but you were there. You were listening, and Tony was talking about me, and it's almost like she wanted to make sure everybody heard it. You know, let's go bring it up in tribal council too. I want everybody to hear it. Yeah. And that's smart. I think it's smart that you got to remind people of who he is and what he's doing. But still, to me, she was still playing emotionally at this point. She wasn't playing strategically yet.
Right. Now, of course, Tony. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, to me, if he did call her that name, you know what? That's a personal type of thing. He wasn't plotting to vote her out. And so sometimes you really just have to let it be. People are going to call you names in life. That's just the way it goes. You don't have to react every time. So he did, and I think ultimately she didn't come off very well from it, and it didn't help her standing in the game.
Yeah, I think Dwayne was right, too, where he said earlier that this was the second time she was blindsided. And I think from sleeping on it overnight, I think it stirred, and she wasn't in control of either of those votes and didn't have any say in it, and this just tipped it off. This just put her in that mood that she was just going to go off on something.
Well, that, and she likes to create chaos.
Right.
You know, which is why we call her Chaos Kass.
It's time to bring out Chaos Kass.
Yeah, Steve, be ready for that just about any time.
Yeah. But seriously, she likes doing that, and so this is an opportunity. But Tony, did you notice Tony in a confessional said, look, we've got to keep our alliance together, so I'm going to go talk to her one-on-one. Right? Which still didn't work, but it just shows you that Tony's still thinking, I want to keep this four together. We've got to keep this four together because we've got to get rid of Tasha and Spencer. And so he's willing to put this aside, but no.
And she says the fact that you're coming to me makes you more guilty. Where I would think the fact that he's trying to resolve this makes him more trusting. I mean, why would Tony care if he didn't care about keeping their alliance together? He would just walk off and laugh, wear his idols around his neck, and not care. But the fact that he went to her, and she still wouldn't have anything to do with him.
Okay, favorite part of this whole scene. Tony's talking to whomever, and he goes, I'm done. No more. And then he keeps talking.
Well, haven't you ever had that with somebody, like a multi-day argument, and then you think it's blowing over? You're like, okay, we're done with this. And then somebody's like, because and then you're like, oh crap, it's starting again.
Yes.
So.
Here we go again.
And you know, if they stopped talking, you know, Tasha or Spencer would have said, "But are you sure? Are you okay with this? Are you good? Because we can talk about it some more.
Yeah,
we can bring it back up."
Absolutely. Hey Tony, how about whenever Kass said that? Look at Kass in her bathing suit. Don't you want to say something about that?
Hey, Tony, I can't believe you're going to let Kass have the last word.
Yeah.
You didn't have the last word.
She's a lawyer. and then they go to Kass and go, he's just a lowly cop.
Who lied.
Yeah.
Don't you hate liars? That's right.
Yeah. So Tony says, you write my name down, and of course then everybody's trying to get him to admit everything. But anyway, so this was just a fun thing. This was fun to watch. But I do like the fact that later on in the episode, Kass realized that Tasha and Spencer need to go home. That it's better to bring Tony to the end than it is Tasha or Spencer.
Absolutely. I mean, as much as I love Tasha and Spencer, I was thinking, no, Wu and Kass, the worst thing you can possibly do is align with them right now for Final Four. Because if you get to the Final Four, one of the two of them is going to make it to the Final Three.
Yeah.
And they're going to win.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so y'all want to talk about the reward challenge?
Well, one more thing came out of that conversation with Kass and Tony.
All right.
I don't know if she meant it. I don't think she did. But he came out and said, because I have the special idol. That's why I'm not worried.
Yeah, but then nobody believes him.
I know, but that's the great part about it.
I know.
You know what? If you really look at that scene, I don't think people reacted the way that they made it look in the edit, because they said it and then they make that little sound effect, and I think it was just another one of those things. I have my bag of tricks. I have the special idol.
Right.
I can grow wings and fly. Whatever, Tony. Sure, yes, you have the special idol. At some point with Tony, I think everybody has just patted him on the head and been like, "Sure, you do, Tony. I totally believe you."
He could tell him his whole plan for the whole season, and they wouldn't believe him. He told them the truth, and they didn't believe him.
Again, see?
Yes, I know.
There you go.
You know what? Okay, if I'm Spencer, or if I'm me and I'm on that island, and he keeps talking about that bag of tricks, sometime whenever he's off in the woods, I'm looking through his bag of tricks.
I would bet that super idol is not in the bag of tricks.
Yeah.
I would bet the other idol is, because he showed it all to him. But I would will it because he had to go dig up his other idol when he and LJ played their idols, and he never told anybody about that one. So I would bet that super idol is not in that bag until he goes to tribal council.
Right.
All right, I'd still go looking through it. I mean, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's allowed in the game, I'm going to be doing it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but Tony's probably got scotch tape on it, so he'll know if somebody's moved the bag.
It's like David said on Facebook today. We were having a conversation. Is Tony a villain? Right? That was the conversation. And and David was like, look, if I'm playing this game, I'm probably going to play just like him. I don't really think he's being a villain. I just think he's playing the way he's playing, and I don't think it's villain. I think it's the game.
Do you think, Steve, since you know more about all this than we do you think the fact that we're getting a 75% Tony edit over anybody else, that every little move he makes, even if somebody else like Spencer or even Wu makes the same kind of move, it's going to look like he's playing more aggressive, and like Tasha later said, he's a bully? It's because of the edit that we're seeing him do so much and say so much?
Yes, some of that's the edit, but I think some of that is also just the way Tony is. Tony is larger than life. Mm-hmm. And so when he does, we all have friends that when, you can be out with them and one of them is always the center of attention and everything that they do is grander and bigger and more interesting than everybody else. And that's Tony. He's kind of the center of it, but I don't know that that's the edit. I just think that's his personality. He comes across very strongly, and he can articulate what he's doing. And believe me, he is more than happy to tell you everything that's going on in his mind. Right. And so I don't think there's much editing to it. I think we're really seeing a lot of who Tony is.
Yeah. Well,
I think he's going to be a fun.
Yeah, I
don't watch David.
I don't watch a confessional count, but I would be willing to bet that he's winning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
By far.
And David got some points for him saying blindside a couple times tonight, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have gotten title points because Tasha gave the title, but you didn't.
How about reward challenge? What do y'all think about it? Playing to be ambassadors.
Now, I loved the reward because that reminded me of Survivor Africa. That reminded me of old school Survivor. We haven't seen that really in years. Like interacting with people who live there. We haven't seen that. I don't know. We haven't seen that since what? Before Heroes Village.
We saw it Philippines, right?
Yeah, because it changed Malcolm's life for like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
It just made me rethink what I'm going to do with my life.
We just stumped Steve. We just stumped Steve.
No, I forgot about. You know why I forgot about it? Because Malcolm went back to his old life, and I've seen his old life, so I
yeah. This changed me forever, and he's tweeting from the bar that he's.
But I've got to say, I loved the reward, but I'm really missing the individual reward challenges where you pick two people and somebody feelings get hurt, and then Kat goes back and cries at the. I'm missing that, and we're not seeing that at all this season, and it's disappointing.
It is, because this is the perfect season to do it, because it's all about strategy. It's all about playing one per solo games. It's about playing for yourself, which I think these 6 are really doing. And you're right, we're really missing out on that unless it gets later in the game. But we only got 2 episodes left.
Right.
I wonder if CBS is like going back and going, crud, this was the season to do that, and we didn't do it because of our previous seasons, and now they're kicking themselves for it. Probably so.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, I mean, these are, to me, these are challenges that are set up to cause breakups and alliances. Whenever you split the tribe up, the finalist up, you're just trying to mix the game up and make it better. So, I mean, I understand that, because when you go on in a reward, you're taking 2 people with you maybe and leaving 3 or 4 behind. But still, I mean, I understand them trying to switch it up, but I want to see people have to pick. Make people make those hard choices, because I talked to my girls, and we talked about if I got on, who would come. And it would probably be Gracie, my middle daughter, because she's a fan. But I said, you know what? As soon as we hugged, you might be hearing me say, we're not going to win this challenge, by the way. We're going to do whatever it takes not to win this challenge, because I don't want to be the picker. And I want to see that. I want to see these people make these hard I love it, them having to make hard choices.
If they just have to do these 3-on-3, 4-on-4, at least they should do it in the schoolyard pick'em and show us that, because we could feel a little bit of dynamic there. But the way we're seeing it, this would have been a perfect episode for the coconut chop, or everybody hold up, who's the most annoying one on the tribe. They should have, and that's something they could have come up with on the fly. They should have come up with that after everything that's happened in the past 30 days.
Yeah. But they're under obligation to do the whole school thing. They're on a schedule for that, so. That's been in the works for a while.
The kids, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love the reward. I didn't really get into the challenge. It just didn't blow me away like some of the other ones have.
No. And is it me, or did Kass basically do that puzzle for Spencer?
No, Tasha did it. She did the first 2 rows for Spencer. Kass translated it to Spencer, and Spencer slowly put the rest of it together.
Okay. All right.
I love Probst says, they've got 2 blocks already on the table that really don't help them much because they're turned around.
That's right.
Well, I think this was one of those challenges that sounded better in development than it really ended up being on top.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot to it. But anyway, so they go to reward, and this is, I don't care who you are, this is a neat reward. But my favorite part of the reward was watching Wu come out of his shell. I mean, this is where Wu shines.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Love it.
I liked Wu. All of a sudden, honestly, I've been on the fence with Wu of all the contestants this season. I've been like, I don't know anything about him. Now I like him. Which I actually thought, now I like him, watch him go home. Because that's the way.
Yeah. It's funny because when he's in front of the kids and he's doing it, he's like, I'm in charge, I'm doing all this stuff, but the other one, Connie. But then whenever he gets with Kass and Spencer, it's like, oh yeah,
I think that's the real Wu. When he's not under pressure, when he doesn't have to worry about a game or winning and strategy, he is one of the funnest person to be around. I love he loves kids. He is great with kids. He loves showing them what he can do. He even let the boys steal the ball from him. He applauded for him. I thought that was awesome. And then all of a sudden they start talking strategy. He's like, oh, we still got to do that?
Oh,
we're still playing?
Game. Whoa.
But for 2 hours, they got to be out of the game, which I love about this reward, because I think Kass said, it's been a couple hours since we've been playing Survivor. Now it's back to Survivor 101.
Right.
And I like that they got a 2-hour break. That's, to me, is the reward. Yeah. You get to socialize with other people, especially kids, who are just going to make you smile. And for 2 hours, they got that, and all of a sudden you get to eat, but you got to talk strategy. There we go.
Yeah, it was quite apparent that Kass and Spencer were on the same page, and Wu was not quite sure.
I love the camera, because every time they showed Kass, there's Spencer right behind her, nodding with her as they talk.
They kept trying to get him to a commit, and he would never commit. It was awesome. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I need to plug in my computer.
Okay. Well, I will say that during the whole conversation about will Wu flip over with us and everything, I was sure that every word that was being said was going to be reported back to Tony immediately.
I thought so too.
Me too. I did too.
I would have bet you money that that's what the next scene was going to be. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that he tried to lie. I mean, he did a terrible job, but he tried to lie. Perhaps Spencer and Kass could have fed him, Tony's going to ask you, this is what you should say. Hey, let's rehearse that. But, because we know the Brains Tribe likes to rehearse things. It would have been great.
Practice,
but,
yeah.
They didn't do that. And it just wasn't believable. So
I loved Wu's face later on. Yeah, go after Tasha. Do you believe my face? Is it good? Do you believe what I'm saying?
As he's giving his little spiel, and then he said that we should go after. I almost expected for him to say the end when he was finished because it wasn't working. So,
yeah, I agree. I really expected him to go back and tell Tony everything. So I was impressed that he held out until he was told to change his vote. So I was impressed that he was willing to make that move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, so whenever my wife says something to me that I don't agree with, or like she'll be like, we really ought to take the boys over to the Easter egg hunt over an hour away and spend an hour, and she'll say that, and she'll say, what do you think? And I'll go, yeah, I hear you, which means, and so I kind of got that vibe from Wu. I'll consider it, I just loved it. Anyway, all right.
Yeah, I started to think like Steve did, that when you say I'll consider it, I'm like, yeah, somebody in the jury said that too, and she was the first member of the jury. So you might want to go ahead but then Kass gave him a lot of credit for saying, I like that he's thinking about this. He's not jumping to it and telling us what we want to hear. He's actually considering it, and then right before they get back is when he makes a decision or tells him that he's made the decision. And I guess he has, because he never seems to go back on it. So that was good of him to play it that way. I think he played it natural, and it turned out it was more trusting to Kass.
Do you feel like this is the first time that Wu has kind of made his own decision? I mean, it's kind of like the
he
whole
didn't make his own decision.
No, I mean,
he did. I know, he did.
I'm not going to tell Tony everything. I'm going to switch, and I almost feel like this is the first time that he's done that.
Well, I'm going to give Wu some credit in the fact that he probably, he's not stupid. I'm sure that he figured out, what are my chances if I go to this Final Four, with the three brains, and what are my chances if I go with Tony and Trish? And his chances are so much better staying with Tony and Trish. So I'm going to give him credit for the fact that he thought it through. He said he was in because, there is a strategy of telling anybody who approaches you with an alliance that, yeah, sure. But I think that he ultimately made the best move for himself. And so I give him some credit that he didn't switch because he was told to switch back, but that he thought it through. I think he did.
Yeah. Well, Tony saw right through him. Tony saw through everybody tonight.
Yes.
I mean, it's great because Tony's telling Wu all the reasons why what Wu is telling him is totally wrong. Well, Wu, that doesn't make sense because Spencer would do this, this, and this. This is what I expected him to do, which is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised Wu didn't go, okay, fine.
You got me. Turn the light off. You got me.
I'm sorry. Just let me go, climb a tree.
I'm totally drawing a blank, but it was last season during Blood versus Water. Somebody was asked who they considered voting off, and they said somebody. I'm going to forget it, but it was probably.
It was Carter when he said to Pinner, wasn't it? He said it's either her or you, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
We laughed for about 30 minutes on that. I'm sorry, Carter, but we laughed.
So, and I put a lot of Carter and Wu, to me, there's a lot of similarities between those two.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wu is sitting back and saying, okay, who are we voting for? And he's trying not to make waves, and he's being quiet around camp, and he's so far following Tony's been a good thing, and this was a good thing.
And for 6 tribal councils, which I pointed out in my blog, Tony was right, and Wu hitched on to the right horse. He got on with the guy that's won every tribal council he's been to.
Yep. But
So
this
here's my
time,
question for you. Would you want to play the game and swing for the fences and be out when Sarah was out, or would you want to play like Woo and make it to the end?
well, I think it depends on your personality, though. See, and I couldn't play like Woo because that's not my personality.
I would play like Woo if it got me to the end where I could fight for my win. I don't swing for the fences when the jury's getting ready to start because, for one, I don't want to sit in the Ponderosa for 3 weeks. But no, I have to rely because I think I can talk my way out of a lot of things. I won't make any claims
Well, you're not talking your way out of this one. So.
I know, but I won't acknowledge anything. I won't admit or deny anything right now. But I would much rather get my way to the end and then explain why I did what I did, how I got there. Just the fact that I'm here should be some case for me to win. But no, swinging for the fences when there's that many people left puts me in a big world of hurt.
Yeah, but you said you would play just like Tony and just like Russell.
And where's Tony?
Hard. Well, Tony's the final 5.
I would play hard, but Tony's not telling people I'll think about whether I'm going to vote for you because I'm the swing vote. She put herself out there. I'm sorry, that was the dumbest thing she could have done was to say, I'm not sure I'm going to vote with you. I would tell both people I was voting with them. I would never tell somebody I'm thinking about voting with you, but I'm leaning towards voting with them. I'm sorry.
Well,
Especially when you got Kass sitting over there. That you don't know what she's going to do.
Well, right. I mean, we all agree Sarah's last episode was her worst performance of the season.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we all agree to that.
People's last episodes usually are the
Well,
that's kind of how the game works.
Thanks to Dwayne for stating the obvious.
no, come on. She made some obvious mistakes that not everybody makes.
I think the big mistake she made was feeling like she had some sort of control over that many people that she was working with. And there was too many wild cards in that group to think that she was going to control them all and then be tied to the other group as well. So,
yeah,
I don't know. To me, that's one of those situations where you got to fall in line. Even if you think you're leading, you still need to fall in line so they think you're with them and that you're not that person they can't trust.
Right. Well, let's get back to Woo. Woo has switched allegiances. He was with Tony. Now he is with Kass. And I mean, it really seems like he is because then she changes his mind again. See, he actually went with her on 2 decisions this episode, which makes me think he is firmly with her now, or until Tony talks him into it.
He may be seeing that Kass is going to be a person that he can go to the end with and get more votes than her. Yeah. And so at this stage of the game, yes, you do try and hit your I don't want to say hit your wagon because I don't want to sound like coattail riding, but you want to align with the people who you can beat. When you're at final 6, that's what you do.
Right.
But don't you think we'd be getting more strategy from Woo if he was going to finish strong in the sense that, you know, Kass was once telling me this yesterday, now she's telling me this. You know what? It doesn't matter. Just so long as I'm with Kass, so me and Kass can be sitting at the end with one other person, gives me a better chance to win. And we're not getting anything near that from Woo.
That's true, but there are a lot of people who've played this game who actually do have good strategy, but they're not able to articulate the strategy.
And we were told that Carter was like that. We've been told that, you know, from other people that Carter was a strategist, but we never saw it. Right. We saw his strategy as telling Pinner he was one of the people going to get voted out.
And also you have to figure that, and I don't want to get into what the edit would show or anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes there may be a reason why we're not seeing that yet or haven't seen that. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so we've basically talked about them being back at camp. Y'all want to get to the immunity challenge?
Sure.
I like that a lot.
Boy, what a challenge.
That was fantastic. It was a great challenge.
Because my first thought was, hey, you get the first 3, you start spinning dials till that thing's come out, and then Probst said, oh, you only get to pull it once, then you got to keep running. Doggone it.
And man.
What would the strategy have been there?
If he didn't say he only had 1 pull?
Yeah.
I would have gone after 4 numbers. I would have gone after, in order, the rocks, the fish traps, the buoys, and the bamboo, and then I'd have started flipping dials to see if I could yank that thing out.
Okay, but with the rules the way that they were, what would your strategy have been? Would you have gone and tried and gotten all 6, or?
No, I would have gotten probably 3, and it would have depended on the first 2 numbers. If they were very similar, the more similar the numbers, which was smart, they did do that. Some of the numbers were really close on the dials. That would make me nervous, but I would try to get at least 3 and be very confident with those 3.
Could you cheat off somebody else?
You could, but you're obviously risking. getting the right numbers, because I think Tasha was off by 1 on one number so many times, he said.
Well, here's the thing. They don't have the partitions. What crossed my mind was, all right, can you look at everybody else's and say, okay, everybody else got 27, I have 24. I might be wrong on that specific one, and try that.
True.
Yeah.
Of course, now that's 10 minutes into the game, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And after you miss, after your dial doesn't come out, Probst says you have to go back. You
Right.
have to go back and get another number. He kept saying, you have to leave, you have to go away.
Right. Okay, so how I would have approached it, initially, I probably would have been scared that somebody out there was really smart and could memorize all 6. That is the temptation. The temptation is to try to get all 6 of them, and then you end up not getting them, right?
Who's that? Tasha the accountant? Isn't she an accountant?
Yeah. But if I had been calm enough and patient enough, I would have done 3 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe even 2 at a time. I mean, slow and steady wins the race, as long as you don't have somebody out there that just has this amazing brain. Yeah.
I would have looked. Yeah, I would have looked for the smallest numbers first, gone after those 3, and then gone after the tough ones after.
Yeah.
And then some of the things might have been smaller numbers, like the bamboo, but it was all in that.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
That's the type of thing that I would have just assumed I was going to get wrong the first time.
Right.
Tried to get the other ones, and then figured it out from there.
Yeah.
Right. If the numbers are such that you can associate it with something, like, oh, that's my brother's age, then you can remember it and you can get a couple more.
Yeah.
Or or something like that. Or memorize the numbers on a keypad. That's how I remember people's phone numbers and stuff. I'll dial it in my brain, and then whenever I go to recall their number, I can see myself dialing it. So, but anyway.
Now, one thing I couldn't really get a feel for how far did they have to run back? Somehow I just didn't, watching it, I couldn't tell how long of a trip back to count, and how far did that look to you?
It looked about 20 to the curve, and then another 20 yards.
I was just say 20 to 30 yards to the turn, and then another 20 yards to the rocks and stuff.
So a half a football field one way.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's what made it so hard, because they were doing that for 25 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Running sprints. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
I set up a soccer pitch on sand, and it wears me out just putting the cones and the string out, just putting out one pitch. So having to run 50 yards for 25 minutes is going to hurt me bad.
Oh, I
It wears
guarantee
me
you.
out to tie my shoes, which is another reason why I'm not a survivor. So.
They all looked completely exhausted. Spencer was so exhausted after that win that he didn't even look excited about winning the immunity necklace.
No.
I love it when
exhausted.
they're exhausted afterwards.
I know, me too.
That's what it should be.
Yeah, he wasn't excited because his face was in the sand. He just wanted to sit down. I don't have to run anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent challenge. Hey, for as weak as the previous challenge was, this one was really strong.
And I mentioned it in the feedback show a lot, but I just want to say again that my blog pointed out exactly what Probst said, that she was about to tie Kelly Wigglesworth from Survivor Borneo with her 4th win in a row. Thank you, Probst, for reading my blog before you went to that challenge. I appreciate that. And then I thought,
they showed him saying that, I thought, okay, that means she's going to win.
I did too.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would he point it out unless it's going to be another record? So I thought she had it won.
And he wanted her to win too. He did. I mean,
Well,
they like stuff like that.
And I think Spencer would have had a better chance of saving himself than Tasha would, because I just haven't seen what Tasha's been doing, other than her begging Tony to keep her in the game when Morgan went, I think it was. They talked about how she went and did that. But otherwise, I think they would have too. It's just another record, another big achievement out of a season.
Yeah. All right, so let's get back to camp and talk about what the dynamics were back at camp. Of course, Tony is, in the center of attention again. The same 2 people keep winning and stuff like that, which, of course, if you're winning, you don't want people saying that.
Right.
At all. You don't want people saying that. And then Tasha gets the line, we got some havoc to wreak.
Yes. I like, they talked about, boys vote Tony, girls vote Trish, and Spencer gave the jinx line of we can't lose. There's no way this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Well, I loved how they said, how he said to Wu, boys vote Tony, girls vote Trish, and Wu was like, so I'm voting for. Like, all right, well.
Wait, let me check my pants here. Just a second. What? Wait a second. It's been so long I don't even remember what I am.
That's funny because if he'd have gone to Tony and Tony would have said, "Who are we voting for?" Well, they just said Trish or you. So
that would have been a Carter moment right there. Yeah.
Oh no, not you. No, Trish or somebody else. Yeah.
Now, Tasha, okay, I'm sorry, but Tony's absolutely right. Tasha's been playing this game hard the whole game. She loves to do strategy. It's her favorite thing to do, and then she just goes and gives up. Oh, well, I guess I'm going to go for a swim. No Academy Award for Tasha tonight. No Academy Award.
Tasha's one of those players that I think if she ever comes back to play, she could win the game.
Yeah, she'll be better.
She could, if she upped her game just a little bit. It was pretty obvious once Kass flipped that it wasn't going to work out for Tasha this time.
Yeah.
She held on for a very long time, and I think there was some part of her. She even said it in her final words that I was down and out at the beginning. I'm so glad I made it this far.
Yeah.
I think it was just kind of the natural end, and I think she probably didn't scramble as much as she could have.
Right. Yeah. Now I'm going to show y'all something that Will Dennison has put on the YouTube. Because I think Tasha is part of the reason why Kass ended up flipping on her. So you can see it on the screen. Future survivors, don't compare your opponents to past players that couldn't win. Don't give folks reason to keep people. Give them reasons to dump them. Tasha should have been saying that Tony was this season's Boston Rob, not this season's Russell. Because what ended up happening was the light went on in Kass's eyes, or in Kass's brain, and she went, wait a second, why do I want to get rid of Tony? No one's going to vote for him because he's a jerk. So Tasha kind of played into that. Not only did she not win the Academy Award, but she also helped herself go home.
That's a very good point. And I had never thought of it or articulated it in that way, but it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Since you gave Will props, I'm going to go against my better judgment and give Mike in Cleveland props because he also wrote that on our commentary Facebook page tonight. He said that Tasha gave Kass a reason to flip because she pointed out he's your Russell. So that's a great point from Will and from Mike in Cleveland.
Yep.
And but yeah, go ahead.
So I should never, if you're ever on the show, you shouldn't say that's the next Katie Gallagher.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the next Will.
At least the way they edited it, that's the point when Kass realized I'm gonna mix things up again.
The sun came on her face, the light bulb went off, and all this is like, oh my, oh woo, just a minute, come here, don't grab your torch yet.
And then we get the woo eyes. What?
Again?
We're gonna change again? Whoa.
Now I liked we're all talking about the same segment. I liked how I think Tony has made me a believer in the sense that he doesn't do anything without a reason. One of my favorite lines in The Hunt for Red October is the Russians don't take a dump without a plan. And I liked when he was sitting there talking about how Tasha is not fighting, talking to Trish, talking to Wu, and talking to Spencer. And he made a point of saying, I'm going to have to play my idol. I'm going to have to play it. And Gracie's like, oh, he's telling him. I said, no, he's telling Spencer. I don't know if he's telling Wu, but he's telling Spencer that you can plan on him playing his idol, so you better adjust your votes. It's going to come out. And that's like the Malcolm thing. I'm going to play it. I'm here, Jeff. I'm going to play it. And then he doesn't play it. So I'm, back to the point we talked about the feedback. He's not going to play it, but he wants them to know that he went into desperate mood. I'm in trouble. If she's not scattering, I'm in trouble, and somebody here must be turning against me. One of you. So I like that he did that. I thought he was just laying it right out there for Spencer to run back to Kass and Tasha and say, he's playing it. We gotta make an adjustment.
Right.
There's so much Tony hate out there, but he's playing a good game. I mean, it seemed. I mean, I'm impressed by him. I think the guy's smart, and I mean, he smartly didn't play his idol. Why would you play that idol? You don't need to play it. You have the.
I don't think that was smart at all. He can only play the idols for the next 2 times. I think you play the regular idol that doesn't matter. yes, you burn it off, you don't use it. Nobody knows he has the other idol, and suddenly the focus isn't on him that, oh, he has this idol this next time, this is the only time he can play it. I think it wouldn't have been a bad, I mean, if he wants to save it for a souvenir, fine, whatever. But I think he didn't need the idol. It might have helped him if he had played it. And then he could almost be a little bit sheepish when he gets back to camp and be like, oh, I guess I didn't need it. Oh, wow, I wasted it. What a stupid move. And I think then suddenly he wouldn't be the evil mastermind that everybody thinks he is.
That's a very good point. See, I just wasn't thinking of it from that perspective. But you're right. If he goes back to camp acting like he wasted his idol and now he's in trouble, then he could control the next vote because he would know that he was safe.
Right. And fine, everybody could vote.
Last I heard was everybody could vote. Did you hear anything after that, David?
No.
No.
So we're going to give making a very excellent point right now.
I know, so we're going to give him a chance to get back. All right. The last thing we heard from you was everybody could vote, and then you froze. So
I blame the hotel. Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember what I was saying, but it was really, really good.
Yeah. Yes, everything you say is so good. I'm really glad that you brought that out because I was really thinking that he made a smart move, but you're right. Now there's still the threat of him having the idol because they know he has it. They just don't know he has the special one. But it doesn't matter. This is the last time he can play it, right? Next episode?
Right. So
yeah. So yeah.
I would have. I think it could have worked in his favor to play it, and then when he gets to the finals, he could say, "I played it," because he could explain that away in a very truthful and logical way, and I think that it wouldn't have worked against him.
But next week, if he finds out somebody else is in trouble that he doesn't want leaving,
yes,
play it on them. And then if his name gets written down, he'll just pull out his idol, and then he and that person decide who goes home.
So maybe it was smart that he didn't play it because now he can protect somebody.
Right. Now he's protecting his goat to get to the end.
Who's his goat, though? Who does he think his goat is?
I think it's Kass. I think she's number one. I'm looking at that jury, and I know we're not there yet. We're almost there. But I'm looking at that jury at all the nods, and we know that not every nod and eye roll is coming at necessarily the same words that we're hearing. But, I mean, they talk about trust, and of course they show LJ looking down at Tony, and they talk about Tasha's talking about who Tony sent over there, and Morgan and Sarah nodding their heads, but at the same time, if Kass has been pestering people every day like she did for Tony this episode, Kass is not going to get any friendly votes, no matter how she played, especially when Tony's got this resume he's building.
Yeah.
And you really have to be careful when you point out at the jury and say he sent everyone there, because that's what cost Sandra a vote in Tijuana didn't vote for Sandra in Pearl Islands because Sandra said that about Lil. She put every one of you out there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's you shouldn't bring that up.
Yeah.
And I think that probably wasn't a good move to say.
Yeah, we don't often see them point and talk about the jury that much. I mean, she was flat out saying you all should pay attention of who put you over there because he's the one that should go at this point instead of me because it was either him or her. But, I mean, I was kind of surprised that she did that because you don't really see that a whole lot.
Yeah. So, what about Tribal Council? Because we're already there. Anything else about Tribal Council?
Oh, there's a lot about Tribal Council. Let's see.
I guess, did you all know, when Tribal Council came, did you all think, okay, Tasha's going home, or did you think there was any chance of Trish going home?
I personally thought, because of how Kass has been playing in the past, that Kass would try to mix things up again. And whenever Kass said that comment about a blindside, I thought, Tasha thinks she's talking about Tony, but she's talking about Tasha.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree. When they got there, right before the vote, the fact that, to me, it looked like Kass really did wake up and get back to her Survivor 101 and say, you know what, I need to keep him.
Right.
He's getting on everybody's nerves, like she supposedly is, and he needs to be the one sitting there because people don't give $1 million to a jerk, was her quote. So I really thought that Tasha, it was unfortunate. And I actually thought when Wu said that too, He didn't call her a brilliant player like he would Tony. He called her like a great player. She's an absolute awesome player. And that's not what he calls Tony. He calls Tony strategic mastermind. And I figured he was talking about Tasha. So she's got to go. She's going to win her way to the end if you don't send her out now.
They should have gotten, and Jefra told me this in her exit interview. She stood there in the water and begged them when Morgan went home, let's take out Tasha instead, and they didn't do that. And they almost kept her too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kass if Kass had not come around and gotten off Tasha, big mistake. You can't take Tasha and Spencer to the end. They beat you.
Yes. And
absolutely.
Like Tony said, she's won half the immunities. Her and Spencer have won 5 out of 6 immunities. That's not a coincidence.
No.
Or else Trish and Kass and Wu stink, and Tony. But otherwise, 5 out of 6 challenges is amazing for 2 people to win.
Yeah, really. So yeah, I kind of figured Tasha was going home at Tribal Council.
Now, I got kind of flummoxed when I heard Probst talk about, when they started asking Kass and Wu about flushing the idol, and this was editing to me, trying to make us think it wasn't necessarily Tasha, because I already felt it was. But editing was trying to keep it open that it could be either way. But he brought up the fact that Tony has 1 and 2 idols. Did he say that Tony has both idols?
No.
He brought it up. So Tony's got 1 and possibly a second idol. And I'm thinking they must have brought that up in Tribal Council, because he wouldn't be saying that unless somebody's already talked about it. And it's probably something I guess we didn't hear, but he flat out made it sound like Tony had the 2 idols. And and Spencer said back at camp, "Can you show it to us?" And that's when he says, "I, neither admit or deny that I have the other idol." So
right. I don't remember Probst doing that, but I don't think Probst would have called out Tony for having 2 idols, because Probst doesn't know.
But I think he did. I get you. I think he did, because I think somebody must have said something about Tony claiming he has the other idol. So I think he made it in that regard. That was a comment Probst was making.
I would think Probst would have to be very careful not to reveal anything that hasn't already been revealed.
Right. So I think it was revealed that Tony has claimed he has it, and that's when he started talking about flushing idols.
Right.
So sounds like a rock band. Flushing idols.
Flushing idols. Interesting. So no idol is played. Tasha goes home. Spencer is blindsided tonight.
Yep.
He's the one that didn't know. Now, do you think Tony knew how the vote was going to go?
Yeah.
Either one of y'all. Do you?
Of course he did. He knows everything.
Okay, but how did he know?
I think he was hoping he knew how the vote would go.
That's not what I'm asking. Do you think he knew?
Well,
I know he hoped.
If you figure this, the vote went exactly how it was going to go at the very beginning of the episode. So before all the flipping and flopping and everything, this is what was going to happen. The 4 of them were going to vote off either Tasha or Spencer, whoever didn't have immunity.
Right.
So whether or not he knew everything that happened in between, it ultimately ended up at the end the way it started at the beginning. And so I don't think he was surprised at all.
Okay.
I think there's a point where he was nervous. Sorry to interrupt you. I think there was a point because I think he read Wu correctly, that there was more said at that reward than Wu was letting on. So I think for a while there he went back to being paranoid, because he was worried that he knew that his name was going to be brought up, and he saw right through Tasha in the way she was acting. So at some point between that situation and going to Tribal Council, I think he got his feeling of confidence that it was coming back the way he wanted it to come back.
Well, I think he knew, because I think that after Kass talked to Wu, that Tony talked to Wu again, and I think Tony reads Wu so well that Tony knew what Wu was doing.
Yeah.
And so he had confidence. So I don't know that anybody came right out and told him what they were going to do. I know Kass wouldn't have done that, or I don't think she would have. But I think he's so good at reading Wu and reading other people, but specifically Wu, that he could tell things had changed,
Yeah.
That Wu had changed, because they talk. I mean, there's a lot of time for them to talk before production goes, okay, silence, So that's why I think Tony knew.
Yeah, because I'm sure that when they were in the shelter talking, he saw the way Wu was talking and knew that he was not probably telling the truth. He's seen Wu be honest enough that he knows
Yes.
when he's being straightforward and when he's not, right?
Right. You know, Sarah made all this talk about being able to tell whenever people were lying and being an interrogator, but Tony, I think, has the award for that one. What do you think, Steve? Do you think he did it? Do you think he knew because he could read Wu, or do you think he knew because Kass may have told him, or what do you think? Are you awake? Actually, his video is frozen, so we won't ask him what he thinks. I just thought he was being very contemplative there for a moment, but he's really, his thing is frozen. So.
Hey.
So. Oh man, Steve. Oh, Steve is back. Now we have two Steves. Do you have anything else to add to whatever you last heard?
I agree.
All right. By the way, Will Dennison says probst did. He asked, so do you guys think he has two idols?
Okay.
So there you go. All right. So that. Anything else before we get to the? Well, we already know the vote. Tasha goes home. Anything about the vote that y'all want to say?
Trish's face annoyed me, and she's doing the whole sad. But you know what? Nobody is really all that sad when they vote somebody else off a Survivor. I don't believe that they are. You know, she did little pouty lips. It's like, no, you just got one vote closer to $1 million. You're not sad.
Yes.
Don't pretend.
Yeah, you just earned another $5,000.
Exactly.
Chill
So,
out.
That's right.
And with this vote, I pay off half my car.
exactly.
Yeah, you're not sad. At least you pay off half my car. I don't know about your car, but anyway. All right, so anything else about the episode? Next time, Chaos Kass is back. Anything else about the episode, though, that y'all want to say? Before we get to the D&D after show? No? No one has anything?
No, I mean, I think we covered it pretty well. It was another good episode, but it's one of those, I think I heard people online talk about these next 2 weeks will kind of be predictable if things go a certain way.
Really? Who's going home next?
Well, if Spencer loses, he's going home. He's got to go home. If Spencer doesn't lose, if Spencer wins immunity again, which is probably what Survivor producers are hoping for, then it would probably be Trish or Wu.
What do you think, Steve? Who's going home next?
Yeah,
I'm going to call his hotel and complain. Don't they know we're doing important podcasting right now? And it is unacceptable for his internet.
There he is. He's back.
I'm gonna call the hotel and make them give me my money back.
Exactly. I mean,
No, I think it's gonna be Kass who goes home next.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
I do, and I only think that because I think that I don't see both Kass and Tony making it to the end, and Tony still has the idol.
Yeah. All right. Cool beans. Well, all right, y'all. That's our recap and discussion of episode 11. We want to know what you think, and the way we'll know that is for you to turn in your feedback by Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on our blog, where this video is and where the links to the audio, iTunes, and everything are, is a nice big box in the middle. You can just push the button and record to your heart's content, up to 5 minutes. So leave us some feedback. Email it to us at feedback@survivortalkwithdnd.com. Assuming Andy doesn't have any family obligations, we'll have Andy on for the Baker's 15 on Sunday. And so we want to know what you think. The only way we can do that, besides our Facebook group, which we know about a lot of what you think, is through our feedback episodes Sunday night, which will be live on YouTube and Google+.
Absolutely. And you can also follow us daily on Twitter follow Dwayne at @survivor_talk. You can follow me at David_STWDD. And you can follow Steve at
Steve Helling.
Steve Helling.
Yeah.
Steve Helling.
Yeah.
And don't forget don't forget our Facebook group where you can meet Steve Helling on the internet, as well as Dwayne and me, and 300 and nearly 400 more others, awesome people that we have on there.
Yeah.
And that's facebook.com/groups/Survivor Talk.
Yep, and of course hit our website, start your Amazon shopping at survivortalkwithdnd.com. Go visit the Patreon page. I spent a long time on that video. Please consider supporting this wonderful podcast.
Or at least consider watching it.
Yes. Any final word? Oh, Steve, what would it be beneficial to you if people were to subscribe to People Magazine?
Oh, sure. Why
Yeah.
not? It might keep my job for another year, but I'd rather them just follow me on Twitter. It's free.
Oh, okay. All right. Follow him on Twitter.
Way to look out for the other man.
There you go. Follow him on Twitter. He's always got those exit interviews, so you'll be interviewing tomorrow, correct?
I do get to interview Tasha, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. All right. Any final words, David?
No, good episode. Not the best episode, but actually the meat of the episode was in the middle.
Yeah.
But it was more to me more like an entertainment episode because of the strife back and forth and Kass evolving from one side to the other. And actually, like Steve said, Tony actually having a good episode this time, a better edit. Honest Tony that nobody believes.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to take
That's
you
Steve's
out.
final words.
Oh, I'm sorry. Steve, do you have any final words?
Well, let's hope that I can get him out before the internet goes down.
Yes.
No, I disagree that it wasn't a good episode. Well, I think it was a fantastic episode. I enjoyed it from the beginning to end, and in a weird way, I was satisfied with the ending, even though I love Tasha, and I would have loved to see her walk away with $1 million. It wasn't her season, and it's obvious it wasn't, and she went out in the best possible way.
Yeah. You know, this episode was another example that this group of survivors is playing the game. I mean, this is a good group. This was a great final 6, and we've got a great final 5.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised because, as you know, the first before the merge, everybody who left was interesting, and I thought, okay, we're just going to coast to the end with a really boring group, and we didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think Probst might have undersold this a little bit.
I told him that. I'm interviewing him next week, and I'm going to tell him that again.
Yeah.
Dwayne said that, yeah.
Yeah. Be sure to say Dwayne from Survivor Talk with D&D said that. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And he'll take that name, and you'll never be cast on the show if you say anything bad about it. So.
Probst will give you that woo face. Who?
Yeah. Who? Song parodies. What? What's that? All right, well, we're going to end the audio podcast, and we got a little bit more for you watching on YouTube. But we're going to go out with a little bit of Staying Alive. Not the whole song, just my favorite part. So that's all I've got. How about you, Dave?
I'm good.
All right, see you, everybody.
See ya.
Well, you can tell by the way I play this game, I am really smart, I put you to shame. Tony's loud, who's out to lunch? I've been on the outs, but I played a hunch. You know it's alright, it's okay, I'll let you see another day. They can try to get me out, but they don't know what I'm about. Whether Tony's talking or whether we was falling, I'm staying alive, staying alive. I know he has an idol cause he brought it out of tribal, but I'm staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive. Well, now I get Trish, I really do, but I just cannot get this woo. He follows Tony everywhere, sticks to him like lice on hair. You know it's alright, it's okay, I'll let you see another day. They can try to get me out, but they don't know what I'm about. Whether Tony's talking or whether we was falling, I'm staying alive, staying alive. I know he has an idol cause he brought it out of tribal, but I'm staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive. Ooh, I ain't going nowhere. Survivor's my game. Spencer is my name. I ain't going nowhere. Spencer is my name. Staying alive. Well, you can tell by the way that I'm still here. I ain't going home, no need to fear. Trish is next, and then it's Woo. Then Kass, I'm coming after you. And then the next day, it's okay. Tony will be on his way. He won't try to understand his paranoid effect on man. Whether Tony's talking or whether Woo is falling, I'm staying alive, staying alive. I know he has an idol cause he brought it out of travel, but I'm staying alive, staying alive. Ah, 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 staying alive, staying alive. Ah, 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 staying alive. I ain't going nowhere. Survivor's my game. Spencer is my name.